but it doesn't matter. Schwab's going to make it a one-stop shop. Fidelity is going to make it a one-stop shop, and so Coinbase is going to get absolutely hammered. I don't care what they say, how pretty they do it. People want simple, people want easy.
Well, another month comes upon us. Thank you for joining. I got Bob Kudla here, tradelikeagenius.com and tradewith2030.com. Now, every month we come at you talking about, can we glimpse around the future? We're in the season of weakness. You can definitely see the fourth turnings in play. If you didn't see the Fed live meetings talking about Basel III integrating stable coins and then dropping the reserve ratio by at least 50%. They're trying to put more liquidity in. We're going to talk about the future today. So, Bob, I appreciate you joining me, and floor's yours. It's been all up and down. News comes out, sell the news, all these things. I just don't know where the rest of the month's going to take us. You and Phil have been looking around more at that, like in the general trend on a monthly versus somebody who might be looking trading for a day or a week or, 4-hour chart, 1-hour chart, something like this. So the generalities of where we're going to be around for the next couple of months through the summer, because you called it summer of weakness. Seems that we're here-ish.
Summer until July 15th is usually it's easy money up. So after the 17th of July till the 15th of October is when volatility increases quite a bit. And so we had a situation here where last Friday they approved the Genius Act for crypto, and it was a sell the news event. At the same time, Coinbase went ahead and broke 3 standard deviations to the upside. It's up like 300%. Dogs and cats are living together, blah, 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 blah. I shorted Coinbase. Coinbase has now been down $50 from there. And it's probably going to fall another $150 because at the same day, Charles Schwab came out and said, now that the Genius Act is signed, we have clarity in our business and we're going to get into Coinbase's business. Charles Schwab has 40 million customers, and probably a lot of them are Coinbase customers that don't want to try to manage 2 different brokerage houses. And Coinbase, I don't have to tell anybody listening, Coinbase is not exactly a user-friendly software support kind of company.
That's an understatement, Bob. That is an understatement. You were very generous with your words there.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people are going to switch out. I mean, look, I've had nothing but problems personally with Coinbase, and I still have money trapped there. So, and that's been 4 or 5 years. I can't even get a log on, can't get a hold of anybody. I'm telling a story that everybody's probably heard, but it doesn't matter. Schwab's going to make it a one-stop shop. Fidelity is going to make it a one-stop shop, and so Coinbase is going to get absolutely hammered. I don't care what they say, how pretty they do it. People want simple, people want easy. The other thing that's happening here is we actually maxed out what's called high beta stocks. This is all the stuff, all the high flyers. We call it the degenerate trade, the degens, right? Pushing stocks up every day by the dip, by the dip, by the dip. We were at record call option buying on the day-to-day basis. At some point, you just run out of the ability to keep doing that. Prices get too high, people can't get a return, and then you start getting violent reversals. And we're getting into that stage right now too. And then the other thing is that the breadth of the market, the BREADTH, the breadth is really poor. Very few stocks are carrying the indexes. Beyond that, people look at their 401k statements thinking that they're going to be doing great, and they're going to find out, why am I down? Is because your financial advisor are buying more than the Mag 7, and they're not doing as well as them. They roll over too. And then we go into a period where volatility increases into August. You have the Fed and the Treasury and Trump all fighting each other. Okay. You have what's going on, and I'm sure you cover it other times. The climate environment is we're getting these basically wash rag ringing floods all across the world. And what happened is it's basically wiping out agricultural harvests. That's problematic. And then you have the tariffs. United States is going to put a 50 to 100% tariff on Brazil because of politics. Well, people buy coffee. You get my point. and then you have geopolitical ramifications where we don't know if you pull on this string what's going to happen here between Russia and Iran and China, and some of the games that are being played there. Unforeseen events can happen, all in an environment where stocks are sitting at all-time highs. So, we've been advising people, that do this is take a hard look, at your portfolios. Our systems are telling us that, this is as good as it gets. Somebody else has another service on Twitter, and he basically, I give him kudos for that. He's an ultra bull, and he looked at Palantir and he basically said, he goes, you know what? Sometimes you just ring the bell. I mean, you have 80 times sales. Palantir is trading at 80 times sales. It will never, ever, ever cash flow into its market capitalization. Same with Nvidia. And these stocks have a habit of dropping 70%. People say Nvidia is the future. Well, Nvidia's been the future 3 times now. The last 2 times it dropped 70% before it rose from like a phoenix out of the ashes. It's going to do it again. So that's kind of where we are, Dave, with that. As you're in the rooms now too with us, and you see how we structure things and put trades out. We're doing really well with the trades, and we're not getting greedy. There's always some buying in there. There's always some stocks that are going up amongst the carnage. And so we're embracing this volatility because you can make money faster in a high volatility environment. You just have to, talk beforehand. You just can't get greedy. See profit, take profit. There'll be another trade tomorrow. Remember, if you make 1% a day in the stock market, I'm just making it up. If you make 1% a day in the stock market, you're making 250% a year. So people that are swinging for the big fences, you don't have to. You make 1% a week in the stock market, you're making 50% a year. And then there's these high yield products that are long and short that are anywhere between 30 and 100% distribution. So there's a lot of ways to make money here without taking a lot of undue risk. And that's what we're doing. And if people want to trade with us, you can go to tradelikeagenius.com, say you heard it from Dave, or you can go to Dave's landing page, and we have really good pricing for you. And you could be in the trading room, or you could be in the trading voice room with us too. Dave's in both rooms, so he hears the banter and he hears the questions. Somebody said it's like going to a strategy meeting every day. He said we should charge by the day what we charge by the month. And so, because there's that much good information out there, there's people that own tech companies in there. There's people in the energy space. There's people in the crypto space, just regular old traders in there. So you get a lot of good insight beyond just what the charts are telling you. And I think it really helps people. And we're all like-minded people. We kind of see the world the same way. So it's a good environment to be able to express yourself without fear of cancellation.
Yeah, I'd agree. There's a lot of anecdotal information coming in of people looking at trends and different industries that influence those trends versus just what the charts say. And then the sniper buys in there too, sniper sell. That's what quick in and out, you get that opportunity to get a couple pips off or something that you can get in quick, get out quick. Like you say, I agree. See profit, take profit, note to self a couple times, I learned from that. And, the thing about Coinbase too, they released everybody's information that was in Coinbase to the IRS. So if you get an updated whatever form from the IRS and says, hey, you need to update your filing because Coinbase released all that information, although they said they wouldn't, but they did. They were not even forced to. They just said, okay, we'll comply with you. So again, that's another negative. And another thing that's going to eat their lunch too is these crypto loans. So like I was reading, JP Morgan is going to offer crypto-backed loans, and all the big banks are. So, just exclusiveness of Coinbase to offer crypto-backed loans at a high percentage rate. Their days are so numbered, you can almost count them on my hands. Because if the bigs come in to offer crypto-backed loans, like you have a Bitcoin, you put it in, you can take off like 30% LTV off that or something. What makes Coinbase special? It doesn't. So people are going to want to consolidate in what they know. If you're in a bank and you understand your online banking platform, you're not going to go to 2 or 3 places to accomplish everything in one roof. It just doesn't make sense. So the consolidation's here, but the opportunity is too. I mean, I'm just looking at this massive shift. I mean, Bob, you can explain it better in terms of these industries. There, you can almost see this shift in the ether occurring in real time, where these worlds are blending and they're sort of morphing into something new in real time.
Things are really happening at warp speed, and companies embracing the I hate the word use AI because it's not really artificial intelligence. We actually programmed it, so it's really machine learning. It's just deep learning, and it makes less mistakes because it can think parallel and give you all the answers at once versus a human has a harder time doing that. But be that as it may, there's more efficiencies being wrung out of the system. Short term, that's good for profit. Long term economy, where all these people going to work? So it's really going to be an interesting environment going forward. I'm sure new industries will be created from it, but the transitions are usually pretty rough. Remember World War One happened as we transitioned from the horse to the car, right? So when you have a lot of people that don't have work, and you and they're hungry, you usually get changes. Look, and you got to look at. I mean, think about where United States sits. And I don't want to be a home team bragger, but we have our own problems, but uh, we don't have the problems that China has, and we don't have the problems that Russia has, and both of them have fatal problems right now that can manifest themselves. That is going to be very distressing. Same with Germany. Germany needs to wake up from their collective coma here, or Germany will be an afterthought nation. And so you have some really interesting things happening here, and then you have Trump blowing up the pharmaceutical industry, Trump blowing up Medicare, environment, Trump blowing up the immigration environment, Trump blowing up things left and right, and these things are all good things, but there's short-term pain associated with it. None of it's priced in yet. So you just have to, like when I say, every day I get up, I look to see where the opportunity is. Some days we day trade, some days we swing trade. And just so you know, too, if you'd like to trade with us, Phil does a lot of the day trading in the room. I do more of the swing trading. I can day trade. I do day trade, but I don't day trade like those guys do. They're in the futures markets trading. I'll day trade in the stock market, what's moving, what's hot right now. And so, you'd be able to do your day trading or your swing trading with us. And the room's pretty fun to boot. So
Yeah, and I want to say the bevy of charts that are available too. So again, if you're focused on, say, 10 tokens, if you're in the crypto market, just jumping between those 10 and having windows open to be able to take a look at the different analogs, the different histograms, the different charts, and it shows you the general trend direction. Like once you match all that up, and maybe you put a couple of your own indicators in there with liquidity or something, then you got this whole gamut and this whole bevy of information that will generally be what it is depending on what time frame you're trading on. But again, the news, like you said, Bob, the news trumps those types of things. No, not for Trump and Trump, but overcomes, like a wild news article will send, things down in a second that are outside the regular norms and variables. But if you're following the charts and there's no strange news that pops out of nowhere, pretty good and easy win rate on that one. But anyway, everybody, thank you for joining us today, and leave some comments in the box below. We try to follow those, and then that's kind of content for what I would pull up for the next month when we want to talk. And I know a few people had talked about the USD being used in Brazil under the stable coins, where a taxi driver could take USD as an Uber driver in Brazil, so that's going to push some need for the US dollar. Thank you for that comment. Like those are the kind of things we try to include in, and and get that direction. So please leave comments. This is the way we can get a gauge of what you want us to talk about next month. But until next time, bye for now.